Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 75639, the Going Merry pirate ship from the LEGO One Piece theme. This set contains 1,376 pieces, 5 minifigures, and retails for $139.99 USD. I'm going to be doing full reviews of every single LEGO One Piece set, so let me know in the comments which set you want to see next. But now let's get into this review. So here is the Going Merry, and it's kind of surreal that this set actually exists. It's a playscale set based off an anime, or I guess a live-action version of an anime. I can't believe how far LEGO's come with this kind of stuff, and I love how the set turned out. I think it's a phenomenal model. Good value for the price too, great minifigure selection, but I'll touch on all that at the end of the video. For the time being, let me move the camera up a little bit closer so we can take a look at every single detail of this build. We'll start with like the sheep figurehead at the front of the ship, and this is definitely the part of the ship that's the most live action. If you guys don't know, all of the LEGO One Piece sets are based off the live action One Piece, not the anime or the manga. So if you've only seen the anime, there might be some discrepancies in the set compared to like what appears in that show. However, most of them are still pretty close to the anime designs, including the entirety of the Merry. The one thing that's a little bit off is this figurehead, because in the anime it has a much more cartoony design. It's got like an actual face at the front here, the horns are a separate color from the rest of the head, while the one here based off the live action looks a lot more like an actual statue. I definitely think the anime design's a little more charming, but it probably isn't too difficult to modify if you really wanted to. You could replace the solid eyes with printed eyes instead, replace the ears at the back with gray ones, and then that would look a little bit closer. But even though I feel like the anime Merry has more personality, the live-action design maybe looks a little more elegant, so I am fine with what they chose to do here. A couple things to note here: the sheep head is like angled down, so you can move it a little bit if you want to for some reason. However, I think it looks best to just leave it like this. There's also studs at the top right here, so that way if you want to sit Luffy down on the front of the Merry, you can do that. His legs can actually attach just fine. Moving down, I love the way this railing was done with this long white rubber bar piece. That creates a very smooth, rounded shape, and it connects in a hole right here and with a clip right here. And then this part's super cool as well. It's a pipe piece in white. And this is a part that I feel like they used to use a lot more often, like in the 2000s. The sets I grew up playing with, these parts were seen all the time. But these days, I don't see them too often at all. I think they are originally a Technic piece, so maybe they appear a bit more in that theme. But in system sets especially, yeah, you don't see these as often as you used to. So it definitely gives the set a quite unique look to use them in this way. The shaping on the entirety of the hull of the ship I think is phenomenal. There's the right amount of shaping on it to make it feel natural, but it's not overly complex or like overly round. It feels very realistic as to what the shape of this boat should be. Front and center right here, there's a little cannon, which is a stud shooter. So if you push in on this cone on the deck, that'll actually cause that to shoot out, and inside is a solid black circular tile. On one side of the Merry, there's an anchor with a chain, and this could very easily be detached if you want to deploy the anchor. In the center, there's a few more stickered parts with those horns on them, just like we saw on the figurehead. And there's this nice gray stripe running along the side of the ship, as well as a few white stripes that come down. I like the very elegant, sort of fluffy look the entirety of the railing has running all the way around the ship, using lots of these very slight curves, and you have this little swirl right here which sort of matches those horns. And then this is cool, this section has the ropes that connect to one of the masts of the ship. And there's these white angled plates that come out to sort of give the appearance that they're holding on to the ropes, and it also helps to keep those from detaching. That white railing of course continues around the back, and it's very rounded. Below that too, there's some white windows in the hull as well as a rudder which connects on a mini ball joint, and that can be moved around however you want. And the other side of the Merry is exactly the same, just mirrored. The only difference is the anchor is not here, however there is still the spot to connect the anchor, so if you wanted to remove it and put it on this side instead, you could. Now moving up onto the deck of the ship, it is incredibly spacious. There is so much room here to pose minifigures, and that is probably my favorite aspect of this entire set, is just how much room there is. Because while the entire set looks really good, it's also built for play. This is the exact kind of thing I wanted from like a Ninjago Destiny's Bounty as a kid. Being a Ninjago fan, of course. So seeing it on a pirate ship from another theme I think is amazing. But it's not just like open space, like there's still plenty of details. It's the perfect balance in my opinion. For the front part of the deck right here, right behind the figurehead, there's literally just a chest and 2 drinks. Pretty standard green bottle piece. And then this little cup originally comes from LEGO Harry Potter, but it's cool to get in more themes. Then inside of the chest there's a few more minifigure accessories. Let me pour that out. This is basically just food and what remains of the food, right? So we have an entire like chicken leg. It's a piece of meat for Luffy, that makes sense. A hot dog, which is a very common thing to see in literally any LEGO set. And then a bone, which I assume is the remnants of some sort of meat. But that chest is meant to be easily removed as well. So if you want to put it on a different part of the boat or just remove it entirely, you're left with this massive deck for minifigures to hang out on, for Zoro to train on, whatever you want. That is so good. Then there's some stairs right here to come down to the lower level. These stairs are big enough to fit minifigures if you want to actually make them walk down. And here we have the main main mast of the ship with a giant pirate flag on it, but once again, tons of room to pose minifigures. Comparing this again to Destiny's Bounty, because Ninjago is the theme I know the best, on some Destiny's Bounties, the center mast takes up a huge portion of the deck, and it really restricts minifigure space. But despite this sail being massive, it's very unobtrusive on the actual deck. It just takes up 4 studs in the center of everything, and then yeah, there's the ropes that attach on the side, but those attach to the side of the vessel, not the center, so they don't get in the way of the minifigure space at all. While we're at the mast, here's a look at the sail at the front, and it's just perfect. It's got the giant straw hat logo, right? The skull and crossbones with the straw hat on top. Literally exactly everything I could want. I love how it's still got the very cartoony appearance too. And because it's vinyl rather than like paper or something, it feels very high quality as well. It doesn't feel like it's gonna wear over time. Above the sail's a crow's nest where you can place a minifigure, for example Usopp in the set. He gets stand up there and see what's going on in the sea around him. I guess one small negative is there's no in-universe way to get up there. There's not like any ladder or anything. So that would have been kinda cool to see, however they definitely would have taken up a lot more space, so I get why they didn't include that. I guess theoretically he could climb the ropes if he really needed to get up there, but it's just cool that they have a space for him at all. You also get 2 vinyl pirate flags in the set, which are double-sided. I appreciate that it's not only printed from one direction, and one of those can be found on top of each of the masts. Coming back down to the deck, there's a few different accessories here. There's this crate at the back with a wooden top, and nothing's in it by default, but you could probably store extra cannon blasts if you want. Right next to that is a hammer to do repairs, and there's a few more empty clips if you want to attach more accessories. On the other side, there's another tool, a silver wrench, which once again has an empty clip next to it if you want to put more there. But yeah, really, once again, the biggest thing is open space. Now to move on from here, there's 3 different places you can go. You could go down inside the ship through these stairs. There's also stairs in front of the mast to go down up front. And then if you want to go up a little bit higher, there's stairs right here, which have more of that white railing on them. We'll move inside in just a moment, but first I want to finish up with the upper level outside. Definitely not as much room on this upper level, but there's still a little bit. We have a room right here, which unfortunately had to be downscaled just due to the scale of the set. So I believe that in universe, this should be like a minifigure scale door right here, but instead shrunken down to be more like a little window. And these little transparent circular tiles are also supposed to be windows in universe. So if you look too closely at this, especially with minifigures next to it, it feels a little bit off. But I also think it's important to maintain the scale they were going for with this set to keep it affordable. So I understand why they did this, and I think it looks fine. Just a door of that size looks a little bit funny when considered the size of the minifigure. And of course, there's no way to open that or get in. Part of this does come out though, and there is stuff inside there. Here's another layer of stairs which lead up even higher. That brings us around to the back of the ship. And there you can see we have 2 of Nami's tangerine trees growing. That's such a cute inclusion. I'm so glad this was here. It would definitely feel like something was missing if they weren't included. But yeah, it's a little thing that adds a ton of life to the build. And again, doesn't take away from the minifigure space too much, though if you really wanted to remove them, you could. However, that feels a little bit cruel. They do just connect to the ship with clips, though. Finally, there's one more layer on top of that dark orange room. This is where the second mast is. This sail has a more triangular shape and it's red and tan stripes, but of course that same flag's still at the top. No crow's nest on this one, so Usopp cannot stand up there. But as I showed you earlier, the quote-unquote ropes are done in the same exact way. These like segmented rubber pieces. This part right here can move back and forth, and that's how Nami is supposed to control the rudder at the back of the ship. So that way she can actually steer it and direct it where it's going. But now, let's start taking the ship apart, because there's a few different places where that can happen. Step 1 is pulling this entire section out the back, and this is the only part of the interior that's out of minifigure scale, because you actually have to take it off to access the inside. But it's meant to be a little storage room, so you can open it up, and there's some accessories in here. We got a bucket, a little bag, this is a spoon within some sort of cylinder, this is like a little spyglass that Usopp can use when he's on the crow's nest. This, I believe, is meant to be a bottle of ketchup, and this to me looks like it's probably supposed to be perfume, though if you guys recognize it as something else, feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's just a place to store extra accessories in the ship. It makes sense to have a storage room like that. And when you're ready to reattach it, it slides in real nicely, just like that. However, if you actually want to get inside the hull of the ship, this entire back section can come off. And inside of here is the kitchen for Sanji to make food. In universe, the minifigures can get down here by walking down these steps in the center of the deck. There's the door that swings open to get inside. And the interior is definitely a little more cramped than the exterior of the build, but there's still plenty of room for minifigures, right? There's a 4x4 area of open studs on the floor of the kitchen, as well as the seat at the back that can fit 2 minifigures at a time. But then on the counters towards the walls, there's a lot more happening here. There's a pile of silver plates, a little pan to cook things, there's a fork and a clear cup, very similar to the spoon that we just looked at, as well as a transparent clear bottle, 2 of these little stamp pieces which I assume are meant to be salt and pepper. There's some stickers on the walls that look to be little cookbooks, and on the other side things are very similar. We have a little sink to wash your hands, a knife for any food that needs to be cut, and right underneath that is a printed pizza piece. And there's some more stickers on this side of the wall with all sorts of different things that are used for cooking. We got mugs, we got what looks like some spices over here, some books up here, basically everything Sanji could possibly need. And in front of the seat, as you saw, there's a little table, and on top of it is a silver mug as well as a plate with what looks to be a tangerine on it. That's a printed part, which I don't believe is new for this set, but of course makes a ton of sense to be included here. The next thing to access within the Mary is a little bit of storage in the center of the lower deck. You can take the entire structure out like this, or just remove the upper part, and access these crates inside either from within the Mary, or you can take the entire module out. Here inside we have 2 crates full of food. One has an apple, 2 berries, and a banana in it, and the other side has an egg, a croissant, and a pretzel in it. Then in the center there's 4 wanted posters. Now these are the collectibles of the LEGO One Piece theme. Across all the sets there's 8 total, and the thing about them is that they're actually random. So if you guys get this set, you probably will not get the same 4 that I got. You could get any of the 8. So in my case, I got Arlong, Monkey D. Luffy, Alvida, and a second Alvida. So you're not even guaranteed to get 4 different posters either, you can get 2 of the same ones. So the idea is, once you buy all the sets, hopefully you get them all. Personally, I bought all the sets and I'm only missing one, I'm only missing Mihawk, but I think these are very cool and they're a ton of fun to collect. It's awesome that they're printed as well, not just stickers. Luffy's one of my favorites and I think he makes sense to come in this set. Arlong's a really cool one too. And Alvida is Alvida, I guess. But yeah, those are just kept in the center right here. Then the last place to get inside the Mary is at the front deck. This entire section comes off right here. In universe, the minifigures can access this with these stairs behind the deck. And this is like the workshop slash map room. We've got a little stickered window on the side as well as these stickered ropes on the side. Those on both sides of the room. There's 2 gray clips right at the doorway to hold on to any accessories that you want. On the other side of the room, we have a golden chalice, some lanterns in the walls, and the Monkey Kid hilt piece, which I assume is meant to be like a rolled up map. And in the center of everything, we have this little structure right here. Now, what I believe this is like a little work table, right? It's for Nami to create her maps, or for Usopp to work on whatever he's working on. This is a little workroom, and this is the workstation. However, what a lot of people have been saying this is a bed. And when it comes to the design, I guess I can kind of see that, and it does fit a minifigure pretty perfectly, but I don't believe bed was the actual intent behind this room. The set description describes this as an accessory workshop. There's no like actual pillow here, right? There's just like a vague white shape, which makes a lot more sense for like map paper or something. The things on the wall right here don't really make sense for bedroom. The windows here are the only things that are like somewhat bedroom-esque. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is meant to be the map room slash workshop slash whatever. But hey, I mean, I guess if you want to see it as a bedroom, you can also do that. But there we go, I think that's about all I have to show you for the Going Merry, at least for now. I'll definitely talk about it more at the end of this video. But of course, the build is not everything in this set, so now let's take a look at the minifigures that it comes with. So, here are the first 2 minifigures in the set. We have Luffy and we have Nami. The set comes with a total of 5 minifigures, and it's the 5 original members of the Straw Hat crew. The 5 that joined during the East Blue Saga, and of course the 5 that have appeared in the live action so far. From just like a minifigure distribution perspective, I really like that because it allows you to get everything you want in one set if you just want to get one set. This set's not the cheapest thing in the world, but if you're a fan of One Piece, you don't necessarily need all the sets if you want to get everything. If you just want the main crew, and I think the main crew is one of the strongest aspects of the One Piece line, you could just get this one set and get everybody, and I think that's really neat. However, something to note is all of the minifigures in this set, just like the build, are based off the live-action One Piece, not the anime or the manga. I was a little bit worried about that, but seeing the minifigures and actually having them in hand, I think they do a pretty good job to represent both the live-action and the anime versions of these characters. Because obviously LEGO turns them into a very cartoony style anyway, so there's a few aspects of them that might seem a little more live-action, but it's close enough that I feel like I do still have the anime versions of these characters in my hands, and that's all I could possibly want. I haven't watched the live action, I've only seen the anime, but still, I love these minifigures and I love these sets, so I really don't have much issue with them being based off the live action. Anyway, taking a look at Luffy, he's got this all-new dual-molded hair-hat combo piece. Of course, the hat is the iconic straw hat, but then you can see a little bit of his hair peeking out from underneath. It's super smart the way they did this minifigure because in this entire line there's 2 different straw hat pieces, one with hair underneath and one without it. Typically LEGO doesn't do the whole dual molded hair hat combo kind of thing. They'll just have you take the entire hairpiece off and put the hat on and they'll look somewhat bald. Take a look at Ronin from Ninjago for example. In the show his hat goes on top of his hair, but in the sets he just is completely bald with the hat on top. So I fully expected them to do the same thing with Luffy. But no, instead they did this, which looks significantly better. However, the version without the hair still comes in other sets, so you have the option to use it as just a regular LEGO hat if you want to. This is the cheapest set that comes with the hat piece with the hair for Luffy specifically. You can get the hair hat combo piece with dark red hair on the smallest head of the wave for Shanks, but if you want it specifically on Luffy, it's either this set or the $330 Baratier, so this is definitely the most accessible way to get it. Other sets, you just get his regular hairpiece and then the version of the hat without the hair. So it's a trade-off as to like what you prefer. You don't get the regular hair in this set, it's only the hair hat combo piece. Taking that off though, taking a look at the face print, this is easily my least favorite part of this minifigure. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but something about this face print does seem a little bit off to me. I think it's because the printing on his eyes is slightly too big. LEGO is very consistent with their eye shape and eye size and everything, but compare him to Nami right next to him, right? His eyes just seem a little bit thicker, and in fact all the aspects of his face seem a little bit thicker. The lips, the eyebrows, everything. They don't use the thinner lines that LEGO tends to use. So maybe that's why he feels off-modeled to me. I also feel like the fact that his face is very symmetrical loses a bit of the personality. He feels maybe a little more stiff and stilted. But if we turn him around, you can see his alternate face, which I think is significantly better. I like the lopsided smile, he's laughing, his eyes are closed. I think this looks really good. And there is a different Luffy face that comes in other sets, which I still think is not perfect, but I feel like it captures Luffy significantly better. Something about this one, though, I don't know, it just feels off to me. It's ever so slightly not perfect. Torso piece, of course, Luffy's got his red vest, and he's completely sleeveless, and that continues around the back. There is a little bit of skin printing both on the back and on the front. Typically, LEGO seems like they're trying to eliminate this in most minifigures, but Luffy did absolutely need it, and I'm glad that they kept it. It looks really great on this minifigure. And then the leg piece is also very detailed. It's dual molded, so that way you can have shorts. Unfortunately, there's no side leg printing, but it's not the end of the world. I don't really expect that. However, the leg printing on the front adds some extra detail. He's got shoes on his feet, and you can see the tears at the end of the shorts. Yeah, this is a pretty great Luffy minifigure. Again, the face print's not perfect, but every other aspect of him I think is really good. It really captures this character super well. And then Nami I also think is really great. Now this is the more generic version of Nami. This version comes in 3 sets. And this is not the cheapest way to get her. You can also get her in the $55 Buggy Circus set. But that doesn't make her bad by any means. I absolutely love her new orange hairpiece. The asymmetry on each side is really cool. This is like a niche reference, but it reminds me of the concept art for the LEGO Ninjago movie. They designed a hairpiece for Nia that looked very similar to this, so I hope we get this in black one day for Nia. That would be really cool. But yeah, Nami, it looks fantastic, and I like that it's unique for her too, because they very easily could have reused a hairpiece here, but no, they decided to come up with something new, and I think it works great. Brand new face print for her as well. She's got one eyebrow raised and a slight smile, and then the alternate face, she's got an angry expression, which makes me so happy to see, because LEGO will often do this thing where for some reason female minifigures have 2 smiling faces, even if they're from a theme where that doesn't make sense. For example, in LEGO Marvel, a lot of the time Scarlet Witch has 2 smiling faces. And listen, 1 smiling face is fine, that makes sense. But for a character like Scarlet Witch, right, she's supposed to be angry and fighting. I mean, you've seen her in those movies, right? Her not having an angry face did not make sense at all. And it's not just the Scarlet Witch issue, a lot of licensed female minifigures have that problem. So I was worried about that with Nami, her having 2 smiling faces, but no, she properly has an angry face here, which is exactly what she needed. And I like how it works for angry Nami, but also just like annoyed Nami, which definitely fits how she might be reacting to some of the crew. She's got a nice white and blue striped top, and dual molded arms that are white and light nougat. Those are very useful parts to get. I'm so glad those are becoming more accessible, and dual molded arms make this figure feel slightly higher quality. She comes with a standard like Sensei Wu staff as an accessory, and then her leg piece, she's got a printed orange skirt. I will say dual molded legs would have been very nice here, because especially comparing her to Luffy, it's a little bit weird how the level of detail does not match. I don't expect dual molded legs in retail sets like this, because they are very uncommon, but when one character has it, it's a bit odd that another one does not. However, she has the dual molded arms at the very least, so it's not the end of the world. I just feel like some detail's missing there, because like her shins only being printed on the front feels a little bit odd. Even if it wasn't dual molded legs, like wraparound printing to include a little bit more of that skin printing here would have been nice. Overall though, I quite like this minifigure. She is probably the least interesting one in the set, because she's the only one that you can still get in a cheaper set, but if we look at her in the context of all 5, she's fantastic. Here are the next 2 minifigures in the set. We have Usopp and Sanji. Usopp, at least in terms of his face and hair, is probably the character that looks the least like his anime counterpart. However, I think that's probably for the best. I do actually prefer the more like live-action design for that face print and that hairpiece, because they're both really cool new parts. Very similar to Luffy, Usopp has an all-new part for his hair. It's dual molded in black and coral to be like the bandana on top of his hair. That looks phenomenal, and the little bit of his hair that you can see actually has quite a bit of texture to it. It definitely feels like a very modern piece. The coral definitely feels very bright in comparison to everything else on his design. I think it works well enough, though I do prefer the dark green that he has on this piece in one of the other sets from this wave. Face print is great. He's got this very, like, confident, happy expression. The expression does feel very anime-esque, though obviously the face shape, not exactly. He doesn't have his giant nose that he has in the show. But that confidence, I could definitely see anime Usopp in that. And then the alternate face, of course, perfect for him. He's very scared. And that's exactly what I would want from an Usopp minifigure. In terms of accessories, he's got the classic LEGO Indiana Jones bag in bright orange, which I believe is a brand new color for that part. Again, a little bright in comparison to everything else, but it works. And of course, you can always remove that if you want. And his other accessory is the LEGO Simpsons Bart Simpson slingshot piece, but now it's in solid bright green, which is another new color for that piece. Taking those off, here's a full look at his torso and leg print, and this is much closer to his anime design. He does have arm printing, which is super cool to see. I love how many LEGO One Piece figures actually have that, because even though it's only Usopp in this set, quite a few in the entire line do get arm printing. It's neat seeing that that's become so much more common. And Usopp has leg printing too, which is nice to see, because as you can see with Sanji, not every character gets that. So honestly, Usopp's a pretty perfect minifigure to me. He's got everything I could possibly want. As I said, in terms of actual appearance, he is probably the least like the anime design, but he's the one character where I think that might be for the best, and I do prefer his live-action design. His personality's captured, and he looks really great here. And then we come to Sanji, who is my personal favorite One Piece character, and now, something to note, I'm only on, like, episode 120 of One Piece, so that is all I have seen of Sanji. I know Sanji has some moments later on that I don't fully understand yet, but at least so far, I really like Sanji, so this is a set I was very excited to get. And this is by far the cheapest way to get Sanji, at least as of right now. The only other set that he comes in is the $330 Baratier, and that's actually a different version of Sanji. So if you want Sanji's regular outfit, this one right here, this is the only set you can get him in. Usopp too, this is the cheapest way to get this outfit. However, the same exact outfit does also come in the Baratier, and then you could get him in a different outfit in the $80 Arlong Park set. Sanji though has a phenomenal all-new hairpiece. I love that every single character did get a new hairpiece in this wave, I guess except for Zoro, though he has a different piece that goes in his head that's new. The hair is like the perfect size, it's not too big, but there's tons of texture to it, and I love how the one part of the hair can cover one of his eyes. It really captures his personality so perfectly. Face print I'm kind of mixed on because it is fairly accurate to the live action, but not super accurate to the anime. Sanji doesn't have like his iconic eyebrows, and there's no facial hair at all, so especially looking at this without the hairpiece, something feels a little bit off. However, I will say, when the hairpiece is on and properly attached with it covering one eye, I see Sanji's personality absolutely captured here. It's just the actual facial features are not captured. So I don't know how I feel, I go back and forth on that. And then Sanji does have an alternate face, but it's a very weird one, because you might recognize this. This is a face print we've seen before. That's actually Jonesy's face print from LEGO Fortnite. What's strange about that, though, is Jonesy has a double-sided face, and it's not this one. Jonesy's alternate face is different than this face. So this is an all-new face print specifically for Sanji. This face print, though, is reused from Jonesy, and I don't understand why that is. This side of the face works alright, I don't like it nearly as much. The face feels too cartoony and not in a good way, it doesn't feel like it's out of the anime or anything, it just feels a little bit off to me. And that face is literally only used on Jonesy, it's not like a Harry Potter face that's been used on multiple characters. So what I don't understand is, like, if you have the budget to create an entirely new piece, because this is a new part, right? Why not make two new faces instead of just one? It's not even like you're reusing it for the same character, right? This is a completely different character than Jonesy. So I really don't see why they did this. It's very strange. I'm happy we got at least one new face print, and again, I do really like this one, even if it's not accurate to the anime. But it's just such a strange choice, I don't really get it. And then in terms of torso print, fairly basic design, right? It's just Sanji's suit. I do like that you can see his blue and white undershirt underneath everything, he's got a tie on, these little golden buttons. But I don't have too much else to say on it, he's probably the least detailed minifigure in this set. There's no arm printing, no leg printing. A lot of the One Piece minifigures actually don't have leg printing. Luffy, Nami, and Usopp are the few that do. That's a little strange to see, especially because like arm printing feels almost as common as leg printing this wave. But it seems to be the style they're going for, and I don't necessarily hate it, especially if it means more printed arms and stuff. Because while I would have liked leg printing on Sanji, I don't think he necessarily needs it. He looks perfectly fine without it. So overall, I'm satisfied with this minifigure. There's a few things I would have liked to see them change, but I'm just happy to have Sanji at all. I think he's really cool. And then finally, we come to the last minifigure in the set, Roanoa Zoro. And this is another one that I like, but there's a few things I'd change about it. This is Zoro's like standard East Blue design, and something that's important to note is this is the only set that this outfit comes in. That's a little disappointing to hear, because I wish this was the more common outfit, because it's the more iconic outfit. But yeah, if you want this one, you can only get it in this set. His hair is not a new piece, but it is a new color, bright green. And just like the other characters, he has an all-new face print. One side's got this slight smirk, and the other side has this angry face. Now, this angry face specifically, I really love, because this feels super anime to me. I feel like with a lot of the expressions this wave, they did base them off the anime rather than the live action, because I can't imagine the actors able to make such an animated face like this, but this is a face I know I've seen Zoro make in the show, so I think it's so cool that that was captured here. Something to note too, this is Zoro's only face across all the sets. Nami and Luffy do have two other heads that come in other sets, but for Usopp, Sanji, and Zoro, they just have one head across each of the sets. So these are the only two expressions you're ever going to get for him. But this one I think is really great, and this one I think is fine, it works well enough. Pretty good for live action Zoro. Anime Zoro, it's fine. I would have liked maybe something a little more neutral without the smile, but it's good enough, I think it's fine. My biggest issue with this minifigure though is the color of the torso, because it is tan for some reason. Now if you look at the live action, yeah, it is a little more tan there, but in the anime, like, this suit is iconically white. He's got a white shirt, the green belt, and black pants. So this being tan instead of white definitely makes this figure feel off for me, and I think it's a real shame that change was made. I assume part of the reason why might be because Nami already uses white, so it makes the two of them a little more different, right? Each character has their own color scheme. But I mean, Zoro has his own different parts of his color scheme, right? He's got the black, he's got the green. I feel like giving him the white shirt would have been fine, and it just would have looked significantly better on this minifigure. The actual design I think is phenomenal. I love all the little folds in the shirt, as well as like the texture and the edges around the robe. But yeah, I definitely feel like that color is really off. And then unprinted legs just like Sanji. I think printed legs would have helped here, but once again, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world that he doesn't have them. It does feel a little more out of place here than it does on Sanji, though. Now, of course, Zoro's accessories are 2 katanas. These are just the standard Ninjago katana piece. They're in black here, which we haven't had in Ninjago in a few years, so it's cool to get that in that color again. But if you know One Piece, you'll know that Zoro is known for his 3-sword style, where he holds a 3rd sword in his mouth, and you can actually do that in this set. There's this all-new part that attaches around the neck, and it's got this 3rd white sword. And I think that's incredibly well done. Something really cool about this piece is that it attaches around the neck. You don't have to take the head off to attach it. No, instead you can just slip it on. The only other minifigure accessory that I know of that does that is like the modern rubber cape pieces that we have in some superhero sets. But that makes this so convenient for play, the fact that you don't have to take the entire minifigure apart. You just slide the single piece on. Now, if you want to use the sword as just a sword, I mean, you can hold it in a minifigure hand, right? Like, that is a bar piece right there. However, the giant neck attachment does get in the way, so you probably always want to have this attached to Zoro if you're using it. It looks a little awkward when it's detached, but I really like the way it actually slots in there. And then Zoro also comes with an all-new bandana piece, so instead of getting a new hairpiece, he got a new bandana piece. And this just covers up the alternate face a little bit better than the classic LEGO bandana piece, and it's a little bit closer to what he actually wears. Here's a look at the bandana with the alternate face, which looks so cool, and here's the alternate face with the sword attached as well. You can see a little bit of his teeth coming out from around the sword, so it actually looks like he's biting onto it. I think that's amazing. So overall, still a really good minifigure. Like, I really like this one. I just wish that torso was white, because if that torso was white, he'd be pretty much perfect. The tan, even if it is technically accurate to the live action, still feels off to me. And so, overall, what are my thoughts on this set? I mean, this set is great. It's basically everything I could possibly want. My only real critiques are like, yeah, I would have preferred an anime-inspired Going Merry. Like, that is preferable to live action. But for the live action design, this is pretty perfect. Minifigure selection, would it have been nice to get a villain as well? Sure. Is there other characters that could have included? Probably. But every single character they needed to include is here. And I'm really happy with how all of them were done, even if there's small changes they could make to make themselves a little bit better. Build is fantastic too. It very clearly looks like the Merry, so it's an amazing display piece. But simultaneously, it is so good for play as well. I love how much room there is to display the minifigures. So many different places to go with them, so many different accessories for them to use. If I had a playset like this as a kid, I know I would have had so much fun with it. And I mean, being completely honest, I'm having so much fun with it right now at 23 years old. This is genuinely an amazing set. The price feels pretty solid too. Obviously, things could always be cheaper, like cheaper is better, but when so many LEGO sets are so overpriced, this feels like a perfectly fair $140 set. That's how much I spent on it, and I feel like it was a good use of my money. So if you're a fan of One Piece or you're a fan of pirates, 100% I recommend this set. If you have the budget for it and you're only going to get one Piece set, probably get this one. The $30 set's really great too, I'd also recommend that one. But if you want the main One Piece cast, yeah, you really can't go wrong with this set. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let me know in the comments which LEGO One Piece set do you want to see a review of next. But as for this video, I think that's about all I have to say, so thanks for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!